Hey, what's going on, everyone? Just want to make a brief video highlighting some reasons of why you probably would want to do your taxes yourself. And I think it's very important, and also share some examples of my experience. I'm a certified public accountant in the state of New York, and I've been working at different accounting firms the past 10 years. And I also had my own tax business for a few years as well. So I have a lot of insights that I could share and help people out. And basically, the main advice is that a lot of you would benefit if you were to do your taxes yourself rather than a CPA. And I know hearing that from a CPA, you're probably like, "Oh man, you would think I'd be saying the opposite," but that's what I want to get into here of the reasons why you honestly should be doing it yourself, your taxes. So let's get into it. Now, I think I'm going to start off with one main reason that I think it's important here. So, as I tell you about the way accounting firms work, I'm going to start off by telling you an example that I've worked at accounting firms where they outsource their work to countries like India. I've worked at firms that done that, and they do not tell the clients that this is even being done, so you would have no idea. Most people don't want their tax returns done by someone in India or China or wherever, but this is the reality that this was what happens. And it's not just one or two accounting firms. I would say it's a lot, like maybe my majority of them accounting firms do this, and you would have no idea. It's all about getting things done and getting profit. Everything here is motive. So the problem with doing that is, number one, obviously, knowing from a country like India doing it, they're not gonna do a good job. They're not gonna care. And I've had situations where I was working at a accounting firm, and it was prepared by someone from India overnight. The next day, it goes through to the review team. Someone from the states reviews it, doesn't do a good job at all. I had a customer call in about the tax return I had to handle, which I knew nothing about, how it was prepared, how it was reviewed. And then I had to look through it with the customer of the things that this client was complaining about. And I was like, You're right. This is done terrible. How did this get through review?" And it's because there's a lack of care, to be honest. So, and this was like 6 years ago, 5 years ago. I was at this particular con firm. This happened, and they were charging clients $3,000 for this kind of work. So, anyways, for me, if I'm a client and my taxes are being done in another country, to me that's a huge red flag. And then not only that, but also identity scams. So, I mean, somebody from when dealing with your taxes, you got your social security number, your name, your address, your spouse, your dependents, your income, your W-2s, where you work. They know everything about you, and you don't know these people. There's a lot of scams that go on, especially now with cyber threats, and giving them all your information, the accounting firm, without consent of the client, you're setting yourself up without knowing with fraud. So that's something I thought is just very, very shady, that this is what's being done at accounting firms. And it's actually very common, more common than you think, and you wouldn't know. So, I mean, that's just one reason I want to start off with why you should do your own taxes, probably. And to continue on this subject here further, the way these firms work, it's pretty unethical. All right, so most people that are hired are newbies right out of college. That way, the accounting firm pays them low salary, works them to death. And the way that these accounting firms are run is that you, as an employee, you're trying to maintain your job, you're trying not to get laid off, which happens all the time at these places. You get used for tax season. That happens a lot. But the way they are judged, it's how fast and how many tax returns you can get done in a short period of time. And they say, and this is how you get ranked against your peers. How many tax returns you get done, not the quality, the quantity. So there's incentives as a tax preparer at these accounting firms not to care. So and then so the, the way these employees prepare your tax returns, you're paying a lot of money for. They're getting out the door. They're not caring if you might be missing a tax form, saying, "Hey, check this brokerage. You might be forgetting a tax form, which could save you who knows what kind of money. I mean, it could save you up under reporting penalty of income, which is a huge penalty with the IRS, just by simply asking, "Hey, I noticed last year you got this. You had stock sales from Charles Schwab. Maybe you should check your brokerage to see if you have any more this year." And I've done this for years as an employee. I've done it many times. It's very common. I get the documents and I say, "Hey, you forgot this. You forgot this. Maybe you should check this. Here's another deduction." You can go down the list, but this takes time. And then you put your taxes on hold. So this benefits the client, but it doesn't benefit the accounting firm, which just wants your money and move on to the next client, just to get as much taxes processed as possible and make as much revenue. It doesn't help you as an employee to incentivize. Say, "Hey, why would I go above and beyond for this client?" It doesn't benefit me at all. And this is the way that these accounting firms are run. So this is what happens when you pay these firms for your taxes to get done. And also, from working all those years, most people at those accounting firms have no idea what they're doing. They do it all wrong. So if you're paying big money and they do it wrong, it happens all the time. And then if you get a penalty or something, you just go on to the next accounting firm. You just get mad at them, pay the penalty, lose whatever money, you go on to the next one. There's because when you sign off and it's you who really hold, unless it's like way reckless, it's you as the client who actually your responsibility to make sure it's done right, even though you have no idea what you're looking at. So this is the sad reality of how these accounting firms actually work. So one point I'm making want to make here too, also as another reason, is that the owners, they're not going to spend time on your tax return like you think they are, right? So this is how it works, right? So like for example, you might meet with a very knowledgeable CPA or whoever's the owner of the accounting firm, and you might meet with them in person, get you in the system, intake you as a client. They might know what they're talking about. They might be very knowledgeable, but they're not going to spend time on your tax return because it's not worth their time. You see, this is a business; they need to be profitable. And I ran an accounting firm and I stopped it for reasons, for similar reasons like we're discussing here. But it's not worth their time for a CPA firm, for example, for the owner to actually spend a lot of time on a tax return. They're going to need to charge you a lot of money, thousands, 10, 15, $20,000 a tax return for that it to be worth their time, or else it's not. They can't make profit because everyone comes to an accounting firm at the same time of the year to get done all the tax returns, so they have to dish it out to the employees. The owners, the ones that may actually know what they're doing, they have to say, "I don't got time for everyone. There's 500 clients. I'm only going to focus on the top 5 that pay the most." And that's how it works. The ones that pay the most get the time of the owner, whoever you're the one that you thought you would be dealing with. All right? I've worked at firms where the owner of the CPA would pay would meet with the client. The client would think that the CPA is doing the tax return. All right, this is my early days. They would pay him a ton of money, 10 grand, whatever it would be. They would charge the client billable hours. But it would be someone like me. This was like when I was a rookie. Someone like me actually doing the tax return, but they don't know it. So, and you wouldn't know. They might review it, but it's really hit or miss. You don't want to be doing that with your own taxes. You don't want to be saying, "Oh, I'm going to pay them," but they may do a good job. They may not. They may do a good job one year. They may not do it another year. And that's how it works, right? So here's the thing too. I want to make this point too, is that if you are going to an accounting firm because there's a specific like rare situation that happened with you, you're looking for a specialist, like unless there's a lot of situations, right? So this would be one reason of why you actually would go CP to a someone to pay your taxes. If there's a certain specialist in a certain area and it's a very rare situation, it's probably worth your time if that person's doing your tax return, because like I was repeated like I said earlier, most of these people will do it wrong actually, and they don't know what they're doing. They have to do a lot of research. There's things that you could be doing to do your own tax return, and that takes a lot of time. So a reason why would might be worth it if you get a certain specialist and that person's the person doing your taxes and spending that time, and you're paying that CPA a lot of money. That's the only time it's actually worth it, and then you don't have time on your hands, and you have a business, you're making millions of dollars or something. Really, that's really when it is worth it. If you're making a lot of money with your business, you got no time with this. It's going to take a lot of time. You got a specialist that can get it done in a short period of time. You could trust them. They're doing it right. All those ducks need to line up for it to be worth you to pay somebody to do your taxes, to pay them $10,000, $15,000 to do your taxes, right? But that's only a small portion of America. Most of you are not in that situation. So most of you should be doing your own taxes, which leads my last couple points here is that no, the point I want to make here is that the line is that nobody cares about you as much as you do. So you care about your situation with your taxes not as much as the person you're hiring. The person you're hiring is just looking at you with money, dollar signs. They're not going to sacrifice dollar signs for you. Maybe you could find one here and there. It's extremely rare. But most of the time, they're looking at US dollar signs. They might pretend like they care about you, but they really don't. These whoever you're paying to do your taxes, which is very hard to even get with a CPA now, because there's not that many CPAs that have really that want to even go into this now, right? Because like I said earlier, the only for it to be worth the time for a CPA, they got to charge you a lot of money. So anyways, my last couple points here, I want to use another example here of what happened to me when I was employed the last few years as well. So there was a situation where someone else had prepared a tax return. My manager came to me, said, so this person off board, it wasn't part of the company no more, the firm no more. Manager comes to me and says, put your name on it, because you got to sign on it to prepare a tax preparer. Put your name on it, and just it's already done. Don't question it. Get it out the door. And there was a side note that I see that there was something that there was someone reviewing it had made a note saying maybe this should be checked regarding backup withholdings with the brokerage. And this was employee stock. So it was tax withholdings with a W 2. And then there was additional withholdings with the brokerage, right? But it was unclear with the documents the client had provided, right? So then I kind of looked at it a little bit, did a little research, and I told my manager, I said, "Hey, I think there's more withholdings here. The client's going to lose $1,500 if we don't put this in." And she was like, "Oh no, let's play it safe. We just get out the door, get on to the next client." Get on to the next client, get it out the door. Don't worry about her at all. It was already checked. Just get out the door. And she said, "Oh, if you're gonna argue with me, this and blah blah blah." And I said, "This is like very unethical. No, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. If I'm not gonna, I'm gonna call the client. I don't care about what you think. I'm gonna call the client and make sure that there wasn't any backup withholdings or not. Get more information." So I went against my manager and I called the client. I said, "Hey, if you call the brokerage and you ask for this form or for the supplementation, just ask them about if there's backup withholdings, get some sort of document so that we know or not for sure. This could save you a lot of money. It's worth your time." Next day, client calls her brokerage. They give the supplement form that needed, uploads it, gives it to me. I look at it, boom, price is in the pudding. All right. $1,500 the client would have lost had I not made that courtesy call. And we included that on the tax return as withholdings for the customer to get back on a refund, right? And then I confronted the manager about it, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you did it. I'm so glad you did it." Full of crap, you know? So that's just a real life example of what happened, of just me making the extra call to care about the customer, because it was pretty unethical. But this is how these firms are run when you're paying somebody to do your taxes, right? So, and lastly, here, the firms, they sell you services you don't need. This is corporate America. This happens a lot. Accounting firms, they're just one of them. So, I mean, I worked at a place years ago where they would advise customers to that start up a business, get the LLC, and then get the S corp. You're going to save money on taxes. You're going to be protected. Blah blah blah. A lot of fear mongering, right? A lot of fear mongering, a lot of lying, a lot of fear mongering. Oh, if you don't pay us thousands of dollars, you're going to get audited. You're going to have problems. This and that. And all these things. The S corp was just so that you would need to pay for more services. You would need accountants more. It would make your taxes harder. That was the whole point. It wasn't to save the customer's money. So I just want to leave it there. That probably a lot of you, this is something when you do your own taxes, you are saving all that money every single year. And this is something you have to do the rest of your life. When you do your own taxes, you're doing it the rest of your life as long as you have income. So even when you retire, unless it's just Social Security income you have, you're gonna have to do your taxes rest of your life. You might as well learn the skills, at least just the basic skill, so that you can do your own taxes most of the time, and then build on it and to save. Who knows what they're charging a lot of money now, thousands of dollars every year you could save. I mean, just think about what you could do with that money every single year. You have all the resources. You have the IRS, that's public. You have a lot of resources, even a lot of the tax softwares and search banks are all online for free. Google. I mean, this is what these people are doing. You're paying them to do their taxes. They're not most of the time. They're not. They're not researching through some high expensive tax research software. That's very rare. All right, and in that situation, maybe you would hire somebody, but that would be like $1 million situation, right? So when you're hiring an accountant, they're googling, they're going on the IRS website, they're googling, they're doing the same thing that you could be doing. It's to prepare your own taxes. So, and that's what I recommend for over 90% of you to do your own taxes, and you'll be better off that way. Hopefully, this was helpful. If it was, click that like button, subscribe, and I'll make more videos like these. Take care.